News that's developing this evening. Algeria's President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who's been in office for 20 years, has postponed presidential elections scheduled for next month and said he will not seek another term in office. President Bouteflika's proposed candidacy had provoked mass protests across Algeria over the past 3 weeks. So let's go to Tunis now, to BBC Arabic's North Africa correspondent Bassem Bouneni, who's there for us. Bassem, thanks very much for being with us this evening. This is quite a dramatic announcement. How far had this been expected or predicted?
Of course, this is a turning point, and let's say it's almost the same package announced by Bouteflika's media office last Sunday, except that he decided now not to bid for a 5th term in office and the postponement of the elections. But Algerians are tonight quite divided. There are protests tonight in Algiers, the capital, and other major cities. They are divided, as I said. Some are took to the street to celebrate, others to protest again, and the opposition are dithering over the way to address this step.
Bouteflika survived the Arab Spring. His regime remained intact, yet he had a stroke back in, I think, 2013. He hasn't spoken in public for years. All of these statements come out as press statements. He's been in hospital until yesterday in Switzerland. How far is it possible to assess whether this is an intentional decision by him or by other people around him who do effectively the day-to-day work of government?
That's quite interesting, because since the protests have erupted on February 22nd, the only reactions from Bouteflika were letters run by the state-owned news agency. Now it's about discussing the credibility of the step for the opposition parties, and let me quote, for example, Ali Bouteflika, a former prime minister who became one of the most prominent opposition figures in the country. Ali Bouteflika said a few minutes ago, he said it's not about the 5th term, it's about deep and genuine reforms. Plus the credibility, there is the problem of the legal framework. The constitution in Algeria does not allow the president to extend his term except in a state of war.
So it's uncertain times ahead then for Algeria.
Actually, yes, and as I did indicate, they are really divided tonight. For some, any sudden or radical change could lead the country to chaos, to uncertainty, and even to instability. Others are stick to deep and genuine reforms, including Bouteflika to be unseated, because there is thought that he is largely incapacitated and he cannot lead the transition. So the transition itself is deemed by many opposition parties tonight as a maneuver, maybe the last maneuver according to them.
BBC Arabic's North Africa correspondent Bassem Bouneni, thank you very much for being with us.